NCERT releases guidelines for schools for early identification of mental health issues in students. Lack of teachers and poor infrastructure in Assam drive kids to opt for madrasas over formal schools. Russian Education Fair to be held in Andhra Pradesh from September 14th. It is mandatory to provide clarification on news reported by media, says Education Department officer. Government to introduce National Credit Framework to ensure seamless integration of school, higher and vocational education. Two students of IIT Hyderabad die by suicide. NIT Rourkela to conduct CSAB counselling for NIT and IIIT admissions this year. Educational institutions need to make students industry ready, says Nirmala Sitharaman. Good afternoon and a warm welcome. You're watching Education News Network, where we get you the latest developments in education at the top of the hour. This is Nitya reporting from ENN, and the daily stories are: the guidelines for early identification and intervention for mental health problems in school-going children and adolescents have been released by the National Council of Educational Research and Training, that is NCERT, following a mental health survey among school children. The survey report launched last week cited exams, results and peer pressure among major factors for stress and anxiety among school students. The guidelines read, schools are generally seen as spaces where communities of learners have been expected to develop in a safe and secure environment. School management, principal, teachers, other staff, and students all spend around 1/3 of a day and around 220 days in a year in schools across the states and UTs in India. For residential schools, the time spent by a student in the school community is even more. Therefore, it is the school's responsibility to ensure the safety, security, health and well-being of all children in schools and hostels. According to the manual, every school or groups of schools should establish a mental health advisory panel. It should be chaired by the principal and have teachers, parents, students and alumni as members. It will create awareness and also plan and enforce an age and gender-appropriate annual school mental health program. The schools should have a provision for identifying behavior, substance use and self-harm, depression and developmental concerns, provide first aid and make appropriate referrals, it said. Noting that most of the time mental health issues emerge at an early stage of life, as half of all mental health conditions emerge by the time individuals are 14 years old and 3/4 by the age of 25, NCERT has recommended that apart from families and parents, teachers also need to be informed about early flag signs, as they too are the primary caregivers. Teachers must be trained in identifying early signs in students for attachment issues, separation anxiety, school refusal, communication issues, anxiety patterns, depressive states, conduct-related issues, excessive internet use, hyperactivity, intellectual disability, and learning disabilities, etc. Teachers should talk about bullying cases in class and empower students by educating them regarding bullying. They should provide a confidential way for students to report any incident which is of concern to them, the manual stated. Villagers in Darogar Alga, Char in Assam said that they chose the religious seminaries over formal schooling as the quality of education in single-teacher lower primary institutions was doubtful. Lack of teachers and multitasking by educators who also double up as midday meal providers meant that actual hours spent teaching children were few, if any. A resident of the village said the poor infrastructure of the government-run schools forced parents to transfer their children from these normal schools to the madrasas. All the 5 lower primary schools in the Char have students from classes 1 to 5, but there is only one teacher in each institution. Is it possible to impart quality education by a single teacher to 5 classes at the same time? Asked the resident. Habibur Rahman, the only teacher of the Darogar Alga Char lower primary school, said, "It is very difficult to teach 5 classes simultaneously. Students in classes whom I do not teach are talkative and make noise. I cannot blame them as they are all children. You need to monitor them constantly. The school has 27 students studying in different classes from 1 to 5, he said. The dearth of teachers has resulted in chaos during school hours at times, even though the government has provided basic necessary infrastructure such as schoolhouses, desks, benches, tables, chairs, free books and uniforms for students, as said by the villagers. Darogar Alga is one of the 4 villages in the Char and has around 100 families. The Russian Center of Science and Culture, that is Cultural Department of Russian Consulate in South India, in association with Study Abroad Educational Consultants, will organize the Russian Education Fair 2022 in Visakhapatnam, Vijayawada and Nellore from the 14th to 16th of September. According to a release, the second part of the 20th edition of the fair will represent Russian medical and engineering universities. The fair will be held in Visakhapatnam at Hotel Daspala, in Vijayawada at Hotel DV Manor, and in Nellore at Hotel DR Uttama. Indian students who cleared the NEET with a minimum of 50% marks in the general category and 40% marks for the reserved category in the core subjects or degrees are eligible to apply for UG and PG in medicine in Russia. There are no pre-qualifying exams such as CET and IELTS for admissions to universities in Russia. Depending on the university and the place of study, the course fee can range from $3,500 to $6,000 per year for courses in English medium, the release said. Russian universities offer an MD degree, which is equivalent to MBBS in India, and the universities are recognized by the National Medical Commission of India. Scholarships are also offered through the Russian government scholarship program. The fair will take place from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and the entry is free. The Commissioner of Education Department has ordered officials to observe and compulsorily provide clarifications and further explanations about published media reports concerning the Education Department's activities. The officers with the department have been notified to issue clarifications on news reports citing that various news or broadcasts published or aired by the media could negatively impact the image of the Education Department. Some reports can even contain fabricated content. If there is no clarification of the news published in the newspapers, then the inaction of the department will be evident. Therefore, the department officials have been notified to provide clarifications. Reportedly, the heads of various offices of the department are required to take due cognizance of the reports related to the department being published by the media and send appropriate clarifications to the Assistant Director and Public Relations Officer of the respective media house. The department officials have been directed to submit the report along with the clarification copy on a monthly basis in this regard. In a bid to ensure a seamless integration of school, higher and vocational education, the government will soon introduce a national credit framework as reported by officials. While a credit-based framework is already in place in technical and higher education, it will be the first time that school and vocational education will be included in it. A high-level committee constituted last year to develop the framework has finalized its draft report according to officials at the Education Ministry. A ministry official said the idea is to bring the entire education system, including school education, higher education and vocational education, to a unified credit platform. It means credits will be assigned right from the school to PhD levels and will get deposited at one platform. The University Grants Commission last year launched an academic bank of credit for higher education. The ABC works as a digital repository of credits earned by students. So far, it is limited to higher education. Under the proposed framework, the ABC will be expanded and linked to DigiLocker, the online digitalization service provided by the Electronics and IT Ministry. Currently, DigiLocker can be used to store academic records of students by Central Board of Secondary Education and other state education boards, besides a host of other government documents. The ABC will manage credits earned at all levels, including school education, higher education, technical education, vocational education, and training, said another ministry official. The committee has agreed that credits will be assigned on the basis of learning hours from Class 5 to doctoral studies. So far, it is being considered to set total hours of learning per credit at 30. However, the panel is yet to finalize how many credits will be given at each level. The learning hours under the NCERT will also include sports, arts, music, vocational training, skilling, field visits, project work, on-the-job training, internship, apprenticeship, or experiential learning, said the official, adding that the credit will be assigned subject to the assessment. 2 students of the Indian Institute of Technology, Hyderabad, recently died by suicide. In its statement on the same, the institute termed it as an unfortunate incident and said it came as a shock. It said, "We are with the students in this situation. We all are equally shocked at the recent unfortunate incidents. IITH has been trying its best to support students who are having academic difficulties. The faculty advisors are always constantly in touch with the students, particularly those who are not doing very well." Among the 2 students was Rahul Bingumala, an M.Tech student. He was allegedly found hanging in the hostel room. The other student, Megh Kapoor, a B.Tech graduate, allegedly jumped off the terrace of his building on Wednesday. He was from Jodhpur and had moved into the lodge after passing out of IIT 3 months ago. The police are still investigating the reason for the alleged suicide of the two students. Rahul started a project in July 2022 and he had about 10 months to complete the project. There is no need for him to feel the pressure. Quite a number of students find any project very difficult at the beginning of the project but do exceedingly well by the end of the project period, IITH said, adding that in the case of Megh, he has completed the tenure of BTech, that is 4 years. During the COVID period, he was not doing well academically. However, in the last 1 year, once the COVID restrictions eased out, the department had started helping him significantly, and the students started getting very good SGPA of 7.5 and 8.3 respectively in the last 2 years. We were very happy that he started improving academically, and we were expecting that he would complete all the remaining courses very soon. And this news came to us like a shock. The National Institute of Technology, Rourkela, is organizing a centralized seat allocation process for admission to various undergraduate programs at NITs, IIEST, IIITs, and School of Planning and Architecture this year, according to officials. The institute will also co-host the Joint Seat Allocation Authority, which will conduct 6 rounds of seat allocation. The registration for JOSAA rounds of seat allocation will begin on September 12th. The CSAB special rounds will begin on October 24th after the completion of JOSAA rounds. The whole counselling process is expected to be completed by November 6th. According to Mukesh K. Gupta, Chairperson, Local Organising Committee, this year, a few changes have been made for ease of candidates. He said the CSAB has established multilingual telephone lines in Hindi, English, Oriya, Bangla, Marathi, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada and Malayalam to assist the students and parents in the counselling process in their local language. Multilingual help documents, immersive readers, dedicated PWD help desk will also be available. Further, 44 help centers in all states and UTs have been established to assist the candidates in English and local languages. We are also taking advantage of social media to percolate the information about the counselling process to the candidates, particularly those of the socially and economically disadvantaged groups. The Central Seat Allocation Board 2022 has been constituted by the Ministry of Education with Director NIT Rourkela as its chairperson. Similarly, the Joint Admission Board takes the responsibility of allocating seats in IITs with the Director IIT Bombay as its chairperson. Union Finance and Corporate Affairs Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Saturday said India needs to understand what the industry requires, and educational institutions need to produce students capable of getting into industry to serve the country's developmental goals. She said India's higher education was no less when compared to global universities, and people who have studied in Indian universities were the second largest contingent when it comes to managing the best of companies around the world. Referring to the representation of Saint Gobain in India in the board of the Indian Institute of Information Technology, Design and Manufacturing, Kanchipuram, she said if industries have come to be on the board of research institutes, they know the industry, particularly those futuristic ones, especially those sunrise areas, so that India becomes the land for manufacturing some of those critical things for which today we are completely dependent on other countries. And when there is supply chain disruption, our manufacturing suffers. What we need to do now is make sure we understand what the industry needs and be able to manufacture for ourselves and for the world. And that is why industry leaders sitting on the boards of such wonderful educational institutions which draw talent, which bring in best of skills and ability, and which have rigorous learning experiences are very important. She said at the 10th convocation of the Indian Institute of Information Technology, Design and Manufacturing, adding that we need to produce students who are capable of getting into industry and getting into industry which serve India's development goals. I think this synergy is now achieved by most of the institutions because the government speaks to them and they give inputs to the government, and as a result, you, that is students, are able to get institutions which are absolutely important. That's all for today. Thank you for watching Education News Network. For more such videos, do log on to our website, theenn.com, and don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Signing off, this is Nitya.